Hi, I'm Landon, and in this video I'll give you an overview of all the blocks in the sensing category. We'll first start off with this touching block. I'm going to demonstrate this by going to Event, grabbing a green flag block, Control, grabbing a forever loop and an if statement, and then going to Motion and grabbing the Move 10 Steps block. Then I'm going to use this sensing block as the condition for the if statement. Now what this says is when I click the green flag and run the game, I am going to forever check if the cat is touching the mouse pointer, and if the cat is, then we'll move him 10 steps. So now when the cat touches the mouse pointer, he moves 10 steps. We can also check if he's touching the edge, or if we have another sprite, we can also check if the cat is touching that sprite. Next, we will check, I will demonstrate this touching color block by going to Control, grabbing another if statement, and then going to Looks and grabbing the change color effect by 10 or 25. And then what we will do is we will go to backdrops, and I'm just going to draw a blue dot here, and then I'm going to check if the cat is touching that blue dot by clicking the colored circle, and then this button at the bottom will select the color picker, and now I can select the color off the dot. Now what this says is when I start the game and click the green flag, we're going to forever check if the cat is touching the mouse pointer, and if the cat is, then we're going to move 10 steps. But if the cat is touching the blue dot, we're going to have the cat change its color effect. So that looks something like this. So we move the cat into the dot, it starts changing its color effect, and then we can move it out of the dot and it stops changing its color. The next block in the list is checking if a specific color is touching another color. To demonstrate this, I am going to change the cat's costume to add a red dot. I am then going to move him like this. I'm going to point him upwards so that he is going to move up when I touch him with the mouse pointer, and then we are going to check if this dot is touching this circle, and if so, then let's change the fisheye effect. Okay, so now I'm going to touch the cat, he's going to move into the dot, and then when I move him out of the dot, he stops the fisheye effect. Pretty cool. Of course, this doesn't happen unless those two colors are touching each other. So if I were to move the cat over here and try to do that again, it doesn't happen because the red isn't touching the blue. So then if I were to move the cat down over here, then now it happens. Very cool. Alright, so then let's go back to sensing. The next block in the list is distance 2. We can use this with some operators. It returns a number, and it returns the number between the distance between the cat and the mouse pointer. We can say if distance is less than 50, then move 50 steps, or 10 steps, just like this. And now if my mouse pointer is less than 50 pixels away, then he will start moving upwards. Very cool. Next, we can go to sensing, and I will demonstrate the ask block. What this will do is when this block is activated, it will pull up an input window where you can put in text or numbers, and then whatever you put in will be answer will be equal to that. This here. So if I activate the ask block and then put in code ninjas and then press enter, you can now see that answer is equal to Code Ninjas. So what I can do is I can say if, we'll stop the game, we'll say if answer is equal to code ninjas, then move 10 steps. So then we will want to ask them question, not what's your name, but just say enter code ninjas. Say enter code ninjas, and we enter in code ninjas, and now he moves 10 steps. And every time we put in code ninjas, he moves 10 more steps. Very cool. The next block in sensing is this block that's checking if you're pressing a specific key on the keyboard. And what we can do is add some controls in. So we can, let's change his direction back to 90 so that he's facing towards the right, just like that. Let's stop the game. We do not want to ask any more questions, and let's check if we're touching the right arrow, and if we're touching the right arrow, then move 10 steps. So every time I press the right arrow, he moves 10 steps. But let's change that to D. So now when I press D, he also moves 10 steps. Mouse down. So this returns a true or false value. It's telling you whether or not the mouse is click, or like if you're clicking with the mouse. So I can put that in here, and every time I click, the mouse or the cat moves 10 steps. We can also get the X and Y position of the mouse. So we can use that like this. So I can say if Y is more than 0, which means it's higher than half of the screen, then move 10 steps. So if I am on the lower half of the screen, then he doesn't move, but if I'm on the upper half of the screen, then he moves. Other examples, let's see, set drag mode to draggable or not draggable. Basically, all the sprites in Scratch are draggable by default, but you can set them to not draggable, and then you won't be able to drag them while you're running your game. Loudness and timer. Loudness is basically how loud. So if you hook up a microphone to Scratch, then loudness will be equal to a number that represents how loud the noise the microphone is picking up, and then timer is how long your program has been running for, and every time you click the green flag, it resets back to 0. This is a pretty interesting block. You can change it to stage, or to, let's say I have another sprite in here. Let's say I have Abby. Then what we can do is we can say, I want to know Abby's X position, Y position, direction, costume number, costume name, size, volume, and it will return that information to you. So Abby's X position is 36. And I can also get information on the stage. I can get the stage's backdrop number, backdrop name, the volume, my variable, which is a variable that's stored in backdrop. So that's a pretty useful one. Next, we have the current year, which is cool, the current month, the date, and a day of the week, right? Pretty cool. And then this tells you the days since to the 2000s, and this is username. So basically what this is basically when you log into Scratch, you obviously give yourself a username, and I am not logged into Scratch right now, but if I was, then this would be equal to the current viewer's username. And that will basically wrap up the video, this video on all the blocks in Sensei. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful and informative. Thank you.